Hey guys, how are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. So to start, I do want to know from you both, how does it feel to know that you're kind of the new generation's Jennifer's Body? So I watched this movie and I was like, this is like what how I felt when I was a teenager watching Jennifer's Body. And so I
Oh,
can only imagine that's what's gonna happen after this movie comes out.
okay.
Thank you.
That's like a huge honor. And funnily enough, literally about 2 months ago, for the first time, I watched Jennifer's Body at like Cinespea under, at the cemetery. So it was sort of, I guess, Darby themed. Felt like, and the impact that that had on me was crazy. So just for you to say that is incredible. But I just feel like to see that type of movie done with even more diversity and even more sort of, it's a very nuanced story, with touching on grief and all these different school cliques and all of those dynamics and our female friendship and everything. Just an honor altogether.
Yeah, I agree. We had our North Stars of Jennifer's Body, Clueless, Mean Girls, but we put our own spin on it and we gave it its honor. I have like a little fluffy pen that made it into the poster. Our outfits are giving. We have our like makeover scene in our walk down the hall, but like Riel said, it's layered and it's a fresh take on a classic. So thank you.
Of course. And what's I just talked to Asher and Chosen, and we were talking about how like I like that this movie plays with stereotypes because I went to a high school where the stereotypes were I was popular, but I was a theater kid. So it was like the opposite of how it was, and they both were like, same. And so was that kind of fun for you guys to get to play with the genre, not the genre, but like the stereotypes that kind of have been a part of that genre for so long?
Yeah, absolutely. I was also a theater kid. I was popular because I was weird, and I was like, I was powerful in my weirdness, which has served me well in life. But character wise, it's always really fun to meet your character, to meet the characters, and then put them in their boxes as Darby does and as Capri does as well. We're both extremely judgmental characters at first, and then we allow the bonds to be broken and allow people to be multifaceted and much more interesting than we first believed them to be.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I mean, my character starts off sort of just judging everyone at face value and even truly enough putting herself in a box. I don't even think she realizes it, but she puts herself in a box and acts like she doesn't have these other parts of her that does crave friendship, that does crave acceptance, that does even maybe a little bit crave popularity. And I guess that it's okay to be all these things at the same time. And we just showed, with especially the diversity, just all of these different characters being played by people you may not even expect them to be played by, and just seeing women at the top of the food chain and women of color at the top of the food chain was such a powerful thing that especially drew me to the project. So just everything. Yeah.
Yeah, Darcy's putting herself in the Haley Joel Osment box because it's very Sixth Sense because she's like seeing the dead people.
Right.
But it is cool, like because you just said with the diversity, it is not to compare it again to another teen movie, but it is like Heather's if it wasn't just all four white women at the head of it. And so with this though, your friendship is of importance because it isn't a friendship and then it becomes one because it's the only option that Capri kind of has. And so how did you two kind of work on that bond of like obviously going from enemies to friends?
Yeah. I mean, I think what was lovely is that there, and once again, part of what I loved about the way this female friendship was depicted is that it had so much history to it. It had so much nuance to it. First of all, we are so much more similar than we even think in terms of the way that we are judging people, the way that we are closed off. But also we have a history where we were friends, but then something happened that made us drift apart, and we were living different lives. We just couldn't relate to each other anymore. So I think the idea of like coming back to that friendship and finding equal grounds again, like we used to have, was really beautiful. And Auli'i was just such a wonderful person to work off of. We got to dive into all these different fun dynamics and, do a fight scene and then do a scene where we were like appreciating each other. And it was just fun to bounce back and forth.
Yeah, and we really did bounce. I mean, there were so many like scene changes because we don't shoot things in order. So I remember it was really smart. Our director Silas Howard, he was made sure that we had like a character map of like a friendship arc and figuring out like how do we tell this story and have a fight, but what are we saying underneath all of this? Like, you know, there's so much love between these two characters, and what they really want is it's like the magnets, right? So like we get closer and closer, and then Capri will say something snide, and suddenly the walls are back up and we're pushed back even further. But what we're really hoping for is honest conversation and true friendship, and we get that in the end, and it's so worth it. It's so rewarding.
Thank you guys so much for chatting with me today. I can't wait for everyone to get to see this movie. And I just have to say, I'm very upset that Rise is no longer with us, as I was a Spring Awakening kid in high school. So that show would have meant the world to me if that
My
existed when
sweet
I was in high
theater
school.
kid. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for talking with me.
Thank you.
Bye.